Again, I think if you can loot in person, you can vote in person. The Democrats seem fine with the looting in person part, not so much the other way, because they want to be able to do it all by mail where they can manipulate it.
Well, that was Donald Trump Jr. thinking that he was making a logical statement by arguing that if people can go out there and loot, of course, he's making a disgusting generalization about protesters, then they would have the ability to vote in person. Now, that's an interesting statement, especially considering his own father refuses to vote in person and is getting a mail-in ballot from the state of Florida. But the thing about that statement that actually gets under my skin the most is it's so typical of a right-winger saying something dumb and thinking that they're quote unquote owning the libs. And in reality, I mean, if you look at the demonstrators, they're not representative of everyone who would want to vote by mail. So to argue that, no, these protesters, if they can go out there and protest, they can go out there and vote as well. I think that that's misleading and intentionally so. Now, Donald Trump parroted his idiotic son on Twitter, writing, if you can protest in person, you can vote in person. But again, Trump is voting by mail in Florida. So if he has the right to vote, then we should have the right to vote by mail. And so they want to draw this distinction, as we've talked about before, between mail-in voting and absentee voting. I've noticed that they've changed their messaging a little bit to refer to universal voting versus absentee voting. I want to talk about, the difference there, although there's still really no difference. But John, I wanted you to jump in and just quickly comment on what the Trumps had to say about voting.
I mean, I think you laid it out really well. I would only add, are a lot of 75-year-olds protesting in person? Are they looting in person? A lot of people with significant predispositions towards certain types of illnesses, are they protesting and looting in person? It's such a stupid point. Like the only way that as a right winger you can own someone is with an audience of people who are even less clever than you. That's it. If you think about it at all, if you scratch the surface at all, it doesn't make any sense. And it obviously doesn't make sense because he has literally never met anyone who has voted in person. Every single person, top to bottom in the White House, has all voted by mail. What a weird situation.
Yeah, it is interesting to hear them accuse others of being owned. I'm on the left, I'm not owned by anybody. I can say what I want to say on this show. I don't have any type of corporate interests in mind. No one is paying me to say things, right? Whereas, if you look at Donald Trump specifically, he's certainly owned. I mean, he prostitutes himself as a politician, got millions of dollars from the NRA, started off his presidency with all this tough talk about gun regulation. And what did the NRA do? Hey, you little bitch, here's some money, shut up. And that's what he did, he's owned.
And I think he was also just owned, actually.
Yeah. So let's talk about the actual facts, because knuckleheads are gonna be knuckleheads, but is there a difference between universal voting and absentee voting? Well, it's interesting because not many states do what's referred to as universal voting, where people who are registered to vote will get a mail-in ballot. Now, California is one of the states that did not have that process in place before, but due to the pandemic, they are now sending ballots to every registered voter. But by the way, prior to getting your ballot, California actually sent, I know this because I live in California, sent me a form to confirm that I still live at that address. I had to verify that. So there are safeguards in place to ensure that fraud does not take place. So let me give you more of those details. Right now, only 9 states and the District of Columbia so far plan to hold universal mail-in elections in which ballots are automatically mailed to all registered voters without needing to request one first. So California, as I mentioned, will start proactively mailing ballots to registered voters, joining universal vote by mail states such as Colorado. Many states will send every registered voter an absentee ballot application. So an absentee ballot application is essentially a form that you have to fill out to give a reason why you want to vote by mail, right? But at the end of the day, the situation is the same, right? There are safeguards in both instances to ensure that voter fraud doesn't take place. That's why we don't have a prevalence of voter fraud in this country. Various studies have shown that. And so other states that do this, the universal mail-in, Hawaii, Oregon, Washington, Utah, and they've been doing this for years. It was never a problem until Trump realized that he was trailing in the double digits in national polls. By the way, according to the Brennan Center for Justice at New York University, there's no evidence that mail balloting increases electoral fraud, as there are several anti-fraud protections built into the process designed to make it difficult to impersonate voters or steal ballots. Just to give you some examples, those provisions include requiring people requesting absentee ballots to be registered voters, mailing ballots to the official address listed on voter registration rolls, meaning you have to be a registered voter to get the ballot in the first place. And it requires voter signatures on the external envelope, and having election authorities make sure the ballot came from the address of an actual voter. If a ballot appears questionable, some states use a signature matching technique to verify the signature of the voter. So oftentimes you'll hear right wingers make these stupid arguments about like, my dog got a ballot. Okay, well then, did you commit voter fraud? Did you register your dog to vote? Because that's the only way your dog could have gotten a ballot. And that voter registration was fraud.
It would be very difficult for a dog to get through all of those protective measures. But I would say that if they could, let them vote. Honestly, that's a special dog. I mean, they're all special, but
special dog. Oh, Charlie.
Charlie's
He's a
gonna
good
vote.
boy.
He is. He'll vote well.
And look, and it's important. It's really important that people feel comfortable participating in this upcoming election. Many people, for good reason, are afraid to go vote in person because of this pandemic. I mean, Trump seems to have some favorability among older voters. And so he probably shouldn't be spreading this message that would make them question the validity of voting by mail. I want to look at the most recent graph comparing the United States to Europe when it comes to this pandemic. Luckily, lately, we've been seeing a little tiny bit of a dip in our COVID numbers, but we're still very far off in terms of the success that we're seeing with European countries. So God, it's just so depressing and embarrassing to see that. But
it is, and honestly,
why we need to vote by mail.
Yeah, and more power to you for reading that Brennan Center result for what, the 15th time? How many times have you read that show? 20 times? I don't know. And meanwhile, they have successfully, on the right, they've successfully gotten their voters to believe that universal mail-in ballots is it's a way to steal the election. It's obviously fraudulent, all of that. But universal absentee ballots, that's totally great. Republicans should do that at the very least. They believe those two things simultaneously. And they don't care like about the Brennan Center study, any of this. The fact that multiple states, red and blue, have been doing this mail-in voting for literally years. That not only is there no evidence that it's linked to fraud, but there's also no evidence that it's linked to any advantage for either party. It could, in the end up benefiting Republicans because it might make it easier for older people to vote, and they tend to lean Republican. Just the whole thing, it is so frustrating, and I don't know, maybe you feel the same way, to continually go back to a topic where the people who believe misinformation about it have been inoculated against any new information, any new facts, and they honestly don't care. They just don't care.
Want to win a free electric scooter? Well, our partners at Aspiration and Zoom Electric are making it possible. All you have to do is head to tyt.com/greensummer for your chance to win.